Hello, everybody, and welcome to What's the Story podcast, WTS 275. Yeah, 275. Yeah. I doubted myself there for a second. I was like,
anyway. Don't be looking to me anyway.
Yeah. I'm Danny Murray.
I'm Graham Merrigan.
And Mero, who has joined us this week?
A returning guest who is starring on RTE's Ultimate Hell Week. It's the one and only, our best friend, Aisling Daly. How are you, Ash?
You? I'm very well, thanks. Thanks very much for having me on, guys. Delighted to be here. Bit out of practice at this now these days, but I'll give it a go.
Yeah, because the last time we were talking, you were starting your journey in becoming a teacher. How are you getting on with that?
I'm in fourth year now, so I'm in my final year in PATS, yeah, so I'm nearly out the gap. It's been, it's actually gone kind of fast the last few years. I think with COVID, like, you kind of feel like take 2 years away from that because they were just a blur. But yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, loving teacher life. It's great. Yeah, it was a brilliant decision to go back. So I'm happy out.
And is it primary school or secondary school?
Oh, primary school, Junior Mac. Yeah, I wouldn't be able for those teenagers. Give me all the primary school kids, like, they're still at the stage where they think you're great. You know, like, my teacher's great. No,
yeah,
the teenagers aren't like that at all.
So are you actually teaching a class now, or?
No. So for the fourth semester and fourth year, we are on campus. So it's all lectures and classes and all that kind of stuff. And then after Christmas, we're out on our final placement then in schools. And then hopefully after that, I'm qualified. And by next September, I'll have my own class.
Oh, well.
I know, yeah.
I tell you, they do worse than having you as a teacher, Ash, to be fair now.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
It's weird though, right? Because I tend to remember most of my primary school teachers were sound like.
Yeah.
And you're right, you do, because when you were younger, you did have that kind of like, you know, you look up to your teacher as like, oh yeah, my teacher's sound, my teacher's fun, and you get to secondary school and you're like, that lad's a prick.
Yeah. But even when you were at home in primary school and you were misbehaving, like, your mom would say, I'll tell Miss Rohan. My first and second class teacher was Miss Rohan. She was a saint and I loved her. And my mom would be like, I'm telling Miss Rohan you did this, that, or the other. So then I'd be automatically very, very good. I love my primary school teachers though.
You didn't want to let her down.
Exactly.
It's mad as well, like, because like for like teachers, like, we're just a little blip in a 30-year career or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But here we are in our 30s still talking about teachers we had when we were 6 and 7. Like, so
yeah.
You know,
it's a very
you'll be leaving an impression, Ash. You'll be leaving an impression.
It's mad. It just goes to show you the impact that one person can have on, like, another human's life. Like, so if you get a bad teacher, imagine your first and second class teacher had been awful.
Yeah.
We'd probably be having a different conversation now. But even when I was in primary school, I had a great teacher in 5th and 6th class. And she's one of the reasons why I decided to go back into teaching. Like,
amazing.
I was just going to say, yeah, what was the reason that got you going? Is it because of your 5th and 6th class teacher?
Yeah, definitely. She played a big part in it. And then after retiring then from MMA, I was coaching the kids program out in Swords and I really enjoyed it. Like, so I kind of done a little life inventory and I was kind of thinking to myself, like, what are the things that I do that kind of bring me joy? Like, and one of the things was coaching the kids, and somebody suggested, would I not go back and do teaching? At the time I was like, oh God, 4 years in college now, that's a big commitment. I don't know whether I can do that. And then I had nothing else to be doing. So
yeah.
I decided, I'd go for it. And sure, here I am, like, best decision I ever made. Like,
that's class.
And it's like, not to be all kind of hippie about it or anything like that, but it's like, it's a real vocation kind of thing, isn't it? It's kind of like, once you're in it, you're doing it for the greater good, like. So fair play to you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah. The 4 years college thing would have intimidated me now, because I like the idea of being a teacher as well, but I don't know if I could apply myself. I didn't apply myself in school. I'm not going to apply myself.
It is a grueling L course now. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Like all the things I've done considered, I'm still like, cheating back the assignments, the pressure. It's all about, like, being productive on the course. Like, they're always looking for something from you. So it is tough going.
So this is the last year though, yeah?
Yeah, this is the final year, thankfully. I don't know whether it's last year 5.
And then you can apply for jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'll be able to apply for jobs probably from April or whatever. So,
are you gonna go back
out there looking for somebody?
Are you gonna go back to your old school?
Probably not. No, I probably won't go that direction because I'm living on the other side of the city now at the minute. So, handier, go somewhere in closer proximity.
Yeah.
And is it still thing primary school teachers, do you have to have Irish and all that still? Or is
Yeah, you do.
really?
Yeah. So, well, my Irish is pretty good now. When I first started the course, I was definitely out of practice. You know, I hadn't done Irish probably for about 12 years.
Yeah.
Now I have a major gra for the Gaeilge. So,
Deadly.
look at you.
yeah, so, I know. Yeah. If anybody runs into me and they want to have a little chat in Irish, I'd be more than happy to.
You'd be sorry you said that now. Some weirdo will come up to you on the street and I'll be like, big with that, yeah.
That's class though. Like what did you have to do to kind of get the lingo back? Or
It's just practicing, just finding people to chat to.
really, did you do that? Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so there's things called pop-up Gael Talk nights. So we have them like once a month in a few different pubs around the city centre, and you can just like pop in, have a chat with other people, and just practice your Irish. Like, and
Brilliant.
I've done a few other things, like, you know, on social media, following people who like posted in Irish on their account. So like I was just trying to get as much input in Irish as I could to try and improve it. When I'd be in the car, I'd have like Spotify playlists on in Irish, just trying to get used to the sound of the language. And yeah, just practicing. Yeah. And just every time I saw a word I didn't understand, I just like look it up in the dictionary or whatever, and just like gradually just trying to chip away and improve. Like I'm not fluent by any stretch of the imagination, but like I'm pretty decent. Like I can have a conversation, and I'm far better than I was when I started the course. Like, but I actually really enjoy it. Like, so
I was going to say, did you find
love to speak Irish?
Most people when they're adults and they go back to it, they say they love it far more than, you know, the 15, 16 years of school. Like, you know what I mean?
The way we're taught it in school is terrible.
I think if it's forced down your throat and it's that kind of like rote learning where you're just repeating things and like you don't see it as like being a living language, you kind of see it as a subject at school that you just have to memorize all these things off. Yeah. But when you kind of start to look at it as a living language and think that there's people in parts of the country that this is the language that they use every day to communicate with their children, their husbands, their wives, whatever, it just makes it a lot more interesting. And then like some of the kind of historical aspects of the language, like it's just a beautiful language, like, and there's so much like history and stuff entrenched in the words that you don't even think about. Whereas that all that kind of stuff has appealed to me since I started to go back as an adult. Whereas, like you said, when you're in school, you're just like big rich milk. You don't even know what you're saying. You're
learning poems and all.
Every essay you had to write in Irish would always include "Gatubbin."
Brilliant.
You'll have to you'll have to do lesson plans saying for me and Merrow. Forget the primary school kids. There's a couple of 30-something-year-olds here who are like, teach me.
Yeah, definitely.
But I used
to
hate in primary school when a teacher would come into the class to your teacher and they'd start talking in Irish and you're like, oh, I wonder what they're saying. That'll be you now, Ash.
I hope not. I hope the kids in the class actually have a decent enough level of Irish that they'll be able to understand the conversation. Because that's another thing that actually kind of irks me a little bit, that teachers would have so little confidence in the understanding of the children that they feel like they can have a conversation in Irish in front of them and that the kids won't understand. Like there's definitely something wrong there. Like you're kind of using it as like a secret language or something. Like it's real exclusive to be like, oh, well, we know Irish and you guys, you'll never have this level. So we'll like chat away in front of you and you won't know. Like it's just a weird approach to it. Like
there's definitely something wrong when I was getting I think I got a C1 in my junior cert French and a B1 in Irish. Like
half it could have been the enjoyment of it, depending on what approaches the teachers took. Like your French teacher might have been better crack and had kind of more imaginative ways of teaching you, whereas your Irish teacher might have been just like take out your book page 2 and just learn that off by heart. And
Paddy Canan, my French teacher, was obsessed with France.
He was actually, wasn't he?
He was obsessed with France.
I don't think I've ever had a French teacher who wasn't obsessed with France.
Oh my God, he was dying for us to do like student exchanges and all.
Yeah.
Oh, he was obsessed. I actually seen him the other day and he hasn't aged a day. He must be nearly 80.
You'd have to be.
French.
Yeah. Did you have him as well, Dan?
I did. Yeah. Well, he retired when I was in either 3rd or 4th year. So I think I had him up as far as junior cert. But he was, and he was an Arsenal fan. Yeah. And I always remember because at the time, Arsene Wenger was the Arsenal manager and it was just full of French players. So he was in his element.
Yeah. Love French.
So, right. So how long are you retired from MMA now, Ash? What was that? 5 years?
Yeah, well, yeah, about that. Yeah, so I haven't fought since 2015, but then I didn't officially retire till 2017 because I was
Mm,
supposed to fight in 2016, and
yeah.
then I got injured, and then that's what happened. Then, yeah. So
You
And
miss it.
I do, yeah, I do miss competing. Like, it's kind of like it's weird. Like the longer it's gone, like the kind of less I miss it. But then there's some days where I'm like, oh Jesus, like I'd love to be fighting again. But I've so much going on at the minute, like that I'm
yeah.
really enjoying doing. Like I definitely feel like I have like a sense of fulfillment out what I'm doing now. That's probably even bigger than what it was when I was competing in MMA. MMA seemed like a kind of purely selfish endeavor, whereas what I'm doing now, I feel like I'm kind of making a difference, or I am
What
going
do you
to.
mean selfish endeavor?
Like it's only like you're doing it for you. Like I never felt like I was doing it for anybody else. Like I wanted to be a world champion. I wanted to be the best in the world. I wanted to achieve my goals and dreams. And I'm not saying that what I'm doing now, I don't feel a certain element of like, oh, I want to be this and I want to do this. But I'm not the priority. I feel like because of my background and the things I've done in my sport and career and how I am as a person, I really feel like I can have a positive impact on the children that I teach. So my focus now is not about me. It's about what I can do to help children achieve their potential, especially because my background is so bizarre. Like for a
Mm.
teacher, like you're not going to get many other teachers that have been like professional MMA fighters before they turn into teachers.
Breaking up the fighting yard by sticking an old armbar on a kid. Like,
Teaching them how to apply the submission safely.
yeah.
So we have to respect the tap, children.
Deadly.
And so you mentioned as well that like you were coaching kids and that, and I think I once that maybe you're still doing it. You were doing like jujitsu, like defense classes for ladies as well to try and help them. Is all that stuff still going on for you as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I'm still in college, so I'm coaching out in Team KF and Sword. So I
Yeah.
run the kids program out there, and I run the women's program out there. So we have like women who come along and want to kind of learn self defense and stuff like that. But we also have like a really competitive women's team. Like we had the Irish Open there just last weekend, and one of the girls at purple belts like double gold in her division and the open weight class. So
Brilliant.
we're catering to all kinds of women who want to train, like whether you want to do it for self-defense or if you want to be a world or European champion, like the options are there for you. And that's really fulfilling and really rewarding as well. Like to see people come in the door who maybe like think that they're not going to be able for it, or they're just kind of uncomfortable because it is a male dominated sport. And even though the women's class is going on in the gym, there's still guys around, and
Yeah.
just to see after a few weeks get them getting more comfortable and even transitioning then to the mixed classes is brilliant. So yeah, like everything's just great. Like I'm just having a great time with coaching and college, and yeah, I'm actually, to be honest, I'm a lot happier now than I would have been when I was competing, because I see the bigger picture of like how the world kind of works a bit more, whereas you're so
Yeah.
kind of narrow-minded, you have tunnel vision when you're competing, you don't really see how things actually are for people, or you lose a little bit of empathy because you just want to get to your goals, you want to just achieve your things, whereas
Yeah.
now I get so much more fulfillment out of helping other people reach their potential.
Is that why MMA stars are gone very unlikable?
I don't know why MMA
Like-
stars have gone very unlikable. I think some of it is like an act, like they're gone very kind of like WWE-esque. And I think because Connor was so successful with being that kind of the heel, like the unlikable, the one-liners, all that kind of stuff, I think people think that's the blueprint. So
Yeah.
if they want to be successful in the sport, then they have to act like that. Because like it is a little bit like nice guys finish last. It's the people who speak the loudest, who are kind of the most obnoxious, are the ones that are getting the most attention in the UFC at the minute, it seems anyway.
So you actually agree with me that there are unlikable stars nowadays?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that going on where you're just like rolling your eyes, like even like Tamayev and stuff like that being built up to be the superstar, and, like his political affiliations and, people he's seen hanging out with, and like the UFC aren't doing anything to kind of like say, well, actually, we don't agree with his political affiliations, and we've seen these posts he's putting up. Like they're not doing anything to kind of like curtail that. They're just, oh, Chimaev, he's a beast. He's doing this. Oh, look at Chimaev killing people in fights. This is brilliant. Like,
Do you think they have an obligation to do that, Ash?
I don't think they have an obligation to like censor anybody. Like I think what fighters do in their personal and private life has to be definitely kept separate. But I kind of feel like there's other fighters maybe in that division who aren't as inflammatory, who get less airtime than he does. So it might be like there's probably not the same kind of equity and airtime given to fighters based off of their achievements rather than like them being inflammatory or obnoxious or whatever. Like, you know, it seems to be the obnoxious people sell more tickets.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's the power of money, isn't it? Really, like that's, you know, they're going to look for who's going to get eyes and who's going to sell pay-per-views. And not necessarily selling pay-per-views because of their technique. They're selling pay-per-views because they're the ones that have talked the most amount of shit, and therefore the attention is on them. Like Colby Covington is another one that comes to mind with some of the antics he was pulling, and you're kind of like, oh Jesus, man, would you just shut up? Like, you know,
yeah, it's actually annoying. It's not entertaining.
Yeah. And would you still actively watch as well, Ash, or like have you kind of gone, you know what, like I don't need to see this shit anymore? Like,
no, I to be honest, I rarely ever watch, and to be honest, I never really did. People always found that bizarre. Like, I was never an MMA fan, like compared to some people. I was always an MMA competitor. Like the divisions that I'd follow would be the division I was in, the divisions that my teammates were in or could potentially be in. You know, you'd be kind of like looking at guys that they might come up against, or, you know, potential competition for yourself. But I was never kind of like every time UFC was on sitting up till 3 a.m. to watch fights. Like I'd much rather be in bed early and then get up and go and train myself the next day. I was always much more into doing the sport than watching it. And even now, like I would enjoy watching fights, but all the kind of build up to the fight and stuff like that, I just have no interest in that, especially when you feel like it's manufactured.
Would it be fair to say kind of you'd enjoy the jiu-jitsu a lot more than the actual MMA then, or is that?
In terms of watching, probably not. Like some of the high level jiu-jitsu matches, like the more highly skilled opponents, like the more evenly matched they are, sometimes the more boring the matches are. So even in terms of jiu-jitsu, I'm more a fan of doing it than watching it the same. Like, you know, it probably sounds a bit strange, but I'd rather be just out doing something than watching it. And that's not saying that I won't watch it or I wouldn't sometimes want to watch it. You know, like ADCC was on a couple of weeks ago. Like that's like the Olympics, the submission grappling. So some of those matches were amazing. So, you know, I watched some of those, but I'm not always like watching everything all the time or like avidly watching it.
I'd be the same. I wouldn't watch wheelchair basketball at all.
Yeah. I don't play any sport, but I just watch them all. So I can't really get involved in this
watch them all.
So, but it's mad, right? Because even there, just before we hit record, we were talking about it, and it's basically 7 years to the day since we first had you on this podcast, and just sort of so much has kind of changed in that time as well. But hearing you talking about kind of getting the enjoyment out of doing the coaching and working with kids and then moving on to teaching and all that, it's mad how your trajectory has kind of changed from that, like you were saying, that very, I'm not calling you self-centered, but that self-centered outlook an MMA fighter needs to have, to now you're looking and you're kind of saying like, no, I've got a lot of shit I can pass on to people, I can help people with. It's deadly. Like, it's great to see that.
It feels really good. Like, you know, just my whole perspective has shifted. And sure, when I retired from MMA, I had no idea what was in store for me. Like there was definitely like the first year after retirement, I was just like kind of aimless and like definitely like sort of depressed, not knowing like what was for me, because I didn't decide to retire. I kind of felt like the rug was ripped out from under me, and then just kind of for all the pieces to kind of fall together better than they were when they fell apart. It's just like, I feel so lucky, like, you know, I'm really grateful the way things have worked out. And I know it probably sounds really boring to some people, be like, oh, look at her, like she's all sweetness and light, she's all delighted, like things worked out the way they did, oh, she's not even sad about her MMA career ending or something like that. But sure, it is what it is. Like I was sad for long enough and I've just moved past that. Like,
and anyone who thinks like that, get in the fucking bin, Ash.
Absolutely. Get in the
bin. So come here, right? So you at the moment are on people's television sets.
Telly box.
You're one of the contestants in Ultimate Hell Week.
Mad bitch.
Yeah, right. Go on. Tell us what's it been like.
It was a really tough experience. Like all things considered, it was like one of the hardest things, if not the hardest thing I've ever done. But there was definitely loads of stuff from MMA training that like helped me prepare for it accidentally. Like I found it on very short notice. about the show. So it was filmed in May. So I got a call, it was the start of May. So I got a call in April. And as part of our degree, we have to go to the Gaeltacht for 2 weeks. So I was a couple of days before I was going down to Carew and Connemara. I was going for 2 weeks and I got the call and they were like, look, would you like to do Hell Week or would you be interested in doing it? It's a charity thing and this, that, and the other. No, I hadn't watched the show at all, so I didn't really know what I was being asked.
You didn't know what you had.
No, I didn't know what I was getting myself in for. So, but they said it was for charity and they kind of explained a bit about it. And I just said to myself, look, sure, like this is one of those things. It's for charity. You're going to look like an awful wagon now if you don't actually do this number one. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then they were like, okay, yeah. So I was filming at the start of May or whatever. So I was down the Gaeltacht for 2 weeks and I obviously train all the time anyway. Like I'd be kind of lifting and doing jiu-jitsu training and all that kind of stuff, but I don't do any running. And I knew that was going to be a big part of the show. So I was staying with like a Bannon T and other people out my year in college. So I'm doing the undergrad. So the majority of my classmates in college are 20, 21. So they're all down to the Gaeltacht. They're for the whole experience, nights out in the local pub, all that kind of stuff. And there was me knowing I was doing Hell Week. So I'm doing my Irish classes 9 to 6 every day, going to bed at like 9 o'clock, getting up at like 5 or 6 in the morning then to go running with like a weighted backpack on. And all my classmates just think I'm insane. And I can't explain to them what exactly I'm doing because we're not supposed to tell anybody who's going to be on the show or anything like that. So I am just this nutty owl one in the middle of the Gaeltacht, running around at 6 in the morning, up the hill to Connemara with a weighted backpack on me. Like,
oh my God.
I was like, if anybody actually sees me, and there'd be people out walking their dogs and everything, they'd be like, oh, imagine what? And I'd be just like, imagine what? Running along, like, I can't explain. Hopefully it'll all make sense to you when you see me on the telly. Like, so, I was only back then from the Gaeltacht a couple of days, and then we were shipped off down to Cork then to do the filming for Hell Week. Like, but yeah, it almost happened.
I have to admit, when I watch it, and even like there's the charity one, and then there's one where Joe Soap can do, and both of them, I understand the charity aspect of it as to why someone would do it, but in the sense of Joe Soap doing it, I don't. Why would you do it?
I wouldn't have volunteered myself for that. Like I wouldn't have like sat down, wrote an application form, and been like, "Hello, please put me into this show. I'd love to do this." Like, not a hope. Like
not a hope.
I was asked, I would have obviously I did, but that was a bit of pressure on me. I wouldn't go seeking this out. Like, I'd like to be starved for a week and ran up and down hills, rolled around in the muck and like denied sleep. This is a great idea. Sign me up. Like it doesn't make sense.
And is it continuously recording? Like,
oh yeah. So basically, like there's no camera crew in the dorms or anything like that. There's cameras kind of embedded in the ceiling. So like they're just constantly on you all the time, which was really funny watching some of the footage back because like you forget that the cameras are there. Like everything, you're so busy, you're so sleep deprived. All that kind of stuff. You're not even thinking about the cameras being there. Like, and it's only then maybe after like you come out or maybe later on the day, you might be up in the drawing room and go, Jesus, I hope they don't put that in, or, something like that. You said that you're like, oh God, I hope my dad didn't hear me cursing or,
yeah.
Like, oh God, this is going to be really bad. Like, but yeah, you just forget about it. Like there's this kind of sensory overload. You're just in this constant state of like alertness, like just like hyperactive kind of, what are you going to ask us to do next? Like,
I'm just looking because like there's what was that, like 20 of you at the start or something like that.
Yeah.
So I've forgotten like some of the people, and I'm just looking. I'm like, geez, some lineup as well. You've got Toig Fleming, who anyone over TikTok age will 100% know. Toig and Derry are great crack. Pamela Uba, Billy Holland, Fergus McFadden, Satanta O'Halpine, like Johnny Ward, the actor, Blonna Tracy, the broadcaster. Like, these are people from all different backgrounds, disciplines, and everything. Someone has to at some point tapped out and said, "This is fucking off the charts. I can't do this."
Yeah, definitely. And you see over the different episodes that sometimes it does get a little bit too much for people. Yeah. It's one of those things. Like, no matter what kind of training you've done or what your background is, this just hits you at all the levels. at the same time pretty much. So if there's any cracks in your kind of resolve, or maybe you could be a little bit fitter, or maybe you just like your home comforts or something like that, the little voice in your head telling you that you can't do it is going to get louder. Like,
yeah.
And fortunately for me, like, especially a lot of people had trouble with the lack of food. Like, I'm so used to weight cutting and all that kind of stuff. People, it's so hard being on so little food. And we were on about 1,500 calories a day, right? Which is obviously not that much, but they reckoned our output was around 5,500, 6,000 with all the activity we were doing. When I used to be training and I had a fight coming up, sure, I could be on 800 or 1,000 calories a day and training 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So I was laughing because people thought I was mad. I was like, this is twice as much as I normally do on fight week. And I'm allowed carbs. Like, I'm living like an absolute queen here. Like, this is brilliant. Like, oh yeah, get that banana and porridge into me. Lovely.
Yeah.
All those years of torturing yourself, and suddenly you're
Exactly.
like, now it's paying off.
Yeah,
All paying off.
I didn't realize all my life had led up to this moment. Like, now the sleep was tough. Like, and as the week goes on, you'll see it in the episodes. Like, people are kind of like cognitively, they're kind of still there at the start of the week, and as soon as it starts to kind of roll on, like even following basic instructions or being able to follow your own train of thought while you're having conversations, like some of the guys, you'd be chatting away to them. I'm just like, what was I saying? You'd be like,
Really?
Yeah, like literally that bad, like, and just complete like blank stare, just like, I don't even know what's happening here. Like, or somebody giving you instructions, you're like, can you repeat that? They would repeat it again, you still wouldn't get it. Can you repeat it again? And especially if it was one of the DSs, they just absolutely rip you out of it. Like, they wouldn't tell you a third time. Like, so it's just like, it was literally like, I don't know, some immense level of brain fog I've never experienced before. Like you wouldn't know your own name, like that kind of level of brain fog. Like, some nights we only get 40-minute sleep. Like,
yeah, that's
why?
Because that's the way what they want to do. They want to try and break you down. So, like, say, from my background, I'm used to physical stuff, things that are physically difficult. That's not really going to bother me. Like, I'm used to not really eating that much. That's not going to bother me all that much. I'm pretty much grand with every other kind of like phobia task except heights. I'm terrified of heights. But so with all those things considered, how are you going to get somebody like me? It's probably going to be the sleep, because there's no way for you training for no sleep. And it'd be counterproductive anyway. And that was the same for most of the guys, like say the likes of Satanta and stuff like that. Like, he's so physically strong. His mental resolve is so strong. He's afraid of nothing. But then you're not giving him any sleep, and he's a 6'7", 100-kilo man. So eventually that's going to start to break him down. It's just they're targeting you from all angles. Like, they will find your weakness and exploit it. Like.
And the charity you're doing this on behalf of is Jigsaw. What made you do for Jigsaw?
So we have a long-standing relationship with Team KF and Jigsaw. We've been doing fundraisers for them over the last few years, even during COVID. They had different kind of campaigns where it was, like run 5K, and like I think we had a team goal that we had to run 10,000 kilometers or something like that as a team. So people were chipping away at it over the course of a week to add up to the 10,000. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me then when they were asking which charity we wanted to represent, like, especially because we have so many young guys and girls in the gym. We especially have a lot of young guys, obviously, just with the sport that it is. And over the past few years, we've had different teenagers and different young men in our club who've had mental health issues. Like, 1 year, like, unfortunately, we actually lost one of our young guys due to mental health issues. So it's just one of those things where I feel like it's something that's really important. I always believe in like prevention rather than cure. So for me with Jigsaw, it's basically, if you can teach people the life skills to be able to manage their own mental health, or recognize when they need to look for help and show them where the help is and where they can go and get it, I feel like that would help, rather than waiting until people's mental health deteriorates and they're not really in a position to be able to help themselves, or they're in such a fog or in such a bad place that they don't know where to go. So the kind of workshops and stuff like that Jigsaw do, and just the fact that they do like online services and stuff like that, which is obviously way more accessible to young people, I just really appreciate the work they do, and I feel like their mission is a really valid mission. So that's why I decided to go with Jigsaw. Brilliant.
And I didn't realize that Team KF had the long-term association. That makes it even better again. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, like, and how did Tom and Chris react when you told me you were going on it?
I think both of them thought that the heights thing would get me, but other than the heights thing, like they were just like, you're made for this. Like anybody that kind of like knew that I was going, like we're just like, oh, you're made for something like this. You're made for something like this. Oh, we'll see if the heights doesn't get you. The kind of way. And even like the helicopter jump that was there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to people beforehand, and I was just saying to them like don't be surprised if you see me home, like early, because if they make me do anything with heights, I might not be able to do it. Like I'm absolutely like hysterically petrified of heights. Like if I'm in the shopping centre and I'm on the second floor looking over the barrier, I'm starting to get sweaty hands and I'm terrible.
Where did that come from, Ash?
I don't know. I don't think it's the most irrational of fears to be afraid of heights, but I've there's no like past experience with heights or anything like that caused. I don't have any clue. I'm grand with flying. Like flying is not like, it's something about like a kind of sheer drop. Even if you're behind a barrier or something like that, there's just something like visually that just, even if I was watching a movie, say, and like sometimes they do those like big zoom out scenes, like going over a valley or something. I'm like, oh God, I'm not aiming for this. Like,
it's not just hop up onto Chris Field's shoulders, do a few laps around the place. He's about 24 foot tall, do you know what I mean?
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I've tried to do a few different things, like to try and kind of get over it, and it just doesn't work. Like, so I've climbed Carrantoohil and done the old Devil's Ladder and everything, looking over the side, and those rocks with imprints of my fingers up in Carrantoohil, holding on to the thing so intensely, like it just doesn't seem to go. Like I've done enough things where I'm like trying to push past it, trying to overcome your fears, all the kinds of, and it's always still there. Like,
listen, look, heights I'm fine with, but I won't stay in the same room as a wasp. So, and I've been around plenty of them. Do you know what I mean? I've told plenty of people before. There was one time I was driving down the M50, one came in the window, I pulled over and I got out of the car. That's it. I was like, it's his car now. It's taxed and insured. Half a tank of diesel in there, mate.
Off you go, Mr. Wasp. Enjoy.
Have you ever been stung by a wasp, Danny?
Yeah.
Is that where the fear comes from?
No, the only thing I can think of is I watched My Girl as a kid.
That's exactly what I was wondering.
Yeah, and I'm convinced, because up until then, I didn't know you could die from bee or wasp stings or anything like that. And then my brother started talking about killer bees, and I was like,
of course he did. Of course he did.
There's bees that are killer fucking. So ever since then, and I've got older, I've kind of learned to deal with bees because they serve a purpose. We need bees. Do you know what I mean? Wasps, we don't need them. So I haven't made me peace with them. I'm not all right with them at all.
I hate mice.
Mice?
Yeah.
Why?
Like, I just find them irritable.
So it's not a fear. You just dislike them.
Yeah, no, it's not a fear. It's I just find them very inconvenient.
Have you had many encounters with mice?
I had one under the floor in my room about 4 years ago.
Right.
And I was convinced it was a rat. And then we got Rent-A-Kill. And he said no, the noise of them under the floorboards or in the walls kind of trebles and quadruples, and it actually sounds like a bigger thing than what it is. And it took us ages to get rid of them. Well, there was only one or two. You put down the poison now, and it took maybe 3 or 4 days. But we weren't convinced that it was a mouse.
Right.
And the noise was going on for about 3 or 4 weeks, and you're kind of like waking up during the night and you're gonna go, what the fuck is that? What's that? And you're getting up and you're listening under the floorboard. Is that it? And then my dad was saying that under the floorboard is cement. There's nothing. He's there. He had it in my head. He's like, it's all in your head. There's nothing under there. So then his mate, actually Danny's cousin Josh, came over and ripped a hole in the floorboard, and there was a hole like underneath of the floor that my dad thought was once cemented. And the mice were there and they were caught, but I found them very inconvenient and annoying.
So they disturbed your sleep mostly. That's why they were inconvenient. I was wondering why inconvenient. I was like, what were they doing?
I was the same. I was like, what were they doing? Interrupting phone calls.
Interrupting
loudly, like what were they doing? Like
interrupting valuable sleep time is what they were doing.
hogging the bathroom, like
using all the hot water, you know.
I went on a monologue of a rant there about mice. So apologies to this.
And it wasn't even a phobia in the end. It was just a weird story about you with mice and you disliked it.
Yeah, I don't have any phobias.
me and Ash are having this therapy moment talking about our fears, and we're like, do you know what? I was inconvenienced by a mouse once. I'm starting to see why Tom didn't like Jerry. That's what I'm hearing here. Oh man! Right.
Oh god, Danny, would you go on Ultimate Week?
Me?
Yeah.
God no, absolutely no. Can you imagine one? Right? Like, I mean, all Ash had to say was they give you 40 minutes sleep, and remember when I go down for a nap, I go down for 2 hours. So 40 minutes of a sleep is not that's not even a rest to me.
You're only getting started then. You're only getting into it.
Exactly, yeah. I'm only starting to blow little cartoon C's after 40 minutes. You know, oddly enough, the one thing I probably would do would be to jump out of a helicopter. I'd be all right, I think. I'd be like, you know,
would you?
Yeah, man.
No, you wouldn't.
I absolutely would, yeah.
Into the sea?
Yeah, why not?
Ash, what was that like?
Stick over the still, so they send like still pictures to us or whatever, and I put up a couple of them from the heli jump, like so it's me on the way up in the heli, and the face on me, I'm like holding on, I don't know what I'm holding on to the floor, and I'm breathing, so I'm like this, like I don't know what I look like, but I got a couple of messages, and it was like Annie Yokes. Oh god, I'm just so bad with heights. Like I was literally hysterical. Like I was the most terrified I've ever been in my life, pretty much. And the pilot, like he was having like the best of crack. So he was doing all these nose dives, turning the heli on its side and all this stuff. And P, who was with me, Peter Finn, Pete the Builder, like he loves all that kind of stuff. So you see him, he's chatting to the pilot, like, you know, having a great old time, like he's chatting to a taxi man on a Saturday night. It's a busy tonight, mate, you know, many customers lately, and I'm there in the back like,
that's probably the, but if you'd asked me then to like stick my hand into like a beehive to retrieve a key for something, none of that. But jump out of a helicopter into a body of water, grand, okay.
What was the impact like, Ash?
Probably not great for me. Like I mid jump, I tried to go into like the fetal position or something, so I landed kind of chest first. So the DSs were going mental at me, like that was a clusterfuck number 6. I was like, I know, I'm sorry. It's just like, because they gave us very specific instructions, like how we were supposed to jump, like to minimize impact and prevent injury. Like, and I just tried to do a bit of I don't know.
I love how they call you your numbers. That was a clusterfuck number 6.
Sure, I didn't even know what my name was after a couple of days. Nobody was calling you by your name. I was just number 6, and that was it. Like, the first night I came out, my friend Holly picked me up, and I stayed in her place, mostly because I looked in bits, and I think she was worried about me. She was like, "Oh God, she definitely can't go home." Like, so I was in bed a couple of hours, and I just woke up, standing beside the edge of the bed like this, like as if something was like gonna kick. I was like, "You're home, you're out." Like, what are you
survived.
Doing? Survived, exactly. But it took me a couple of days to get back to normal. Like, just like physically, I was broke up anyway. Like I lost a bunch of weight. I had bruises all over me, scratches all over me, muck in places I didn't know muck could ever reach. Like I was just, I was in a bad way when I came out. Like physically, you're just wrecked. Like,
and this is a question we always ask in this podcast regarding cheat meals and all that kind of thing. But I'm presuming after being lumped with something as disgusting as just porridge and bananas, that when you eventually got out and you realized you were out and you were like, hang on a second, I can have food again. Did you have yourself a blowout meal?
Oh yeah, I did. We had a nice big Indian. Yes. That's what we had after. Yeah. All the naan bread, all the rice, nice curry, delicious.
Naan bread does not get the credit it deserves.
Oh, it's sensational.
Love a good naan bread.
It is. It's amazing. When it's well done, it is the king of the breads.
Indeed. And I don't care what old man Brennan says. He can get it.
That's a different type of bread. You can't.
I think you have to get it in the restaurant though. Like when you get a takeaway, that naan isn't the same.
It's a tiny bit soggy. I think.
Yeah, it doesn't travel well.
Parcel it up like.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like when you get.
It's ours, isn't it? Up.
The way they parcel it up.
All right.
Do I need a translator for you, Maro?
I honestly don't know how we went. Naan bread, arse lit up. What shit? Naan bread, have an arse.
Just naan bread on there.
Have I been eating the naan bread arse first? What have I been doing? Oh man. I know. I just think it doesn't travel well if you get it delivered. I just think it's like if you get chip or chips. They're not made for travel. You know what I mean? So Jesus, I miss naan bread, lads.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love a naan bread and a nice korma. Dude, partial to a korma. I can't do the spice.
All the chocolate in there as well, though. There was. I would say the production staff that kind of look after you when you get out of there, like they're amazing. Like
yeah.
And Ollie and Marie, they were amazing. Like you came out and basically they just minded you. You know, they were just throwing sweets at you, giving you hugs, like because you'd just been through a week of abuse or whatever. So
number 6.
Yeah, all of a sudden these people are using your name and they're being nice to you. And they're like giving you pats on the back and telling you how well you done and all this kind of stuff. You're like, oh, is this real? This is not a trick and they're going to just send me back in, right?
It sounds like you had a week in North Korea, not a TV show.
Oh, God, it's probably handier having a week in North Korea, to be honest. Like, at least you could just fade into the background if I had the right haircut and whatever. They're just leaving you alone. Like,
haircut.
One of the assigned haircuts, you're only allowed to get your haircut a certain amount. Listen, there's a certain protocols for haircuts. Yeah, I could just get myself a nice bowl cut and just fade into the background.
Imagine they shaved your head and all that. Ultimate.
Oh God, that'd be rough now. I don't think I would have been able for that now. I've been growing this hair for a while now. I'm kind of attached to it.
Yeah.
Would you do it all again?
Oh, no, I wouldn't. Definitely not.
Is it one and done?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And like I said, especially the first time, like I didn't know what I was getting myself in for. Like my boyfriend was a big fan of the show, don't care, and he was telling me like, oh, this is going to be happening, that's going to be happening, and I was just a bit flippant about it. I was just like, oh look, it'll be grand. Like don't be annoying me with all that. Watch a few episodes and see what's happening. Sure, it makes no difference. I'll see when I get there, type thing. Like, and then when I got there and it was happening, I was like, oh, maybe I should have watched an episode 2. Yeah. I'd say if I watched an episode 2, like, well, I definitely wouldn't have said no, but it would have been probably playing in my mind. Like, whereas it's going to be hard. I don't know how hard. And
what was Donica like when you said, oh, wait, I'll tell you, I'm going on Ultimate Hell Week?
He was delighted. He was like, oh my God, that's one of my favorite shows. Like, he was like, oh, this would be brilliant. Like, but again, the height thing, he was like, I don't think you'll make it through the heights thing. Like, I think you'll really struggle on that. Like, you know, the kind of way. And he'd be slagging me. He'd be like, oh yeah, I'll see you home Tuesday, will I? You know, I was like, that'll be grand. But no, he was real supportive. Like, he just thought it was great. Like, deadly buzz. And even watching the episodes now, like so every Wednesday night, like religiously, like sitting down to watch it together and stuff like that. Yeah, well, that time you didn't do well there. Oh, you didn't come across great there, did you? I'm like, oh no. But yeah.
Even when I'm watching, I as I said, I'm kind of going, why? even the coaches, like, they're so crabby. Like, there's no smile, nothing.
No.
Even when they bring you in one-on-one to interview, how do you think you did today, number 6?
Yeah, it's like they're allergic to happiness or something like that. There can't be any, like, you know, no positivity, no, like neutral is about as much as you can hope for from them. Like, but they're like that the whole time, because people ask me, we're like, oh, when the cameras aren't around, are they nice to you or something like that? I'd say they're actually worse when the cameras aren't around, because some of the stuff they're saying is actually so bad that I don't think RTE would actually be allowed show it. Like, you know, the slurs that they're using and stuff like that, they're just like, no, this cannot be actually televised, so this is not going in there. Like, and
that is class, isn't it?
Like anything in life, like certain people did not gel at all, so certain DSs would actually really have less time for certain people there, and would probably be a little bit harder on like one of us versus somebody else, like, you know. And then just particular DSs would like freak you out more. Like Lockie, one of the DSs, had this like weird thing where he would stand when he was talking to kind of like at an angle to the side of your face, like, so you'd only hear him in one ear and you could only see him out of the corner of your eye, and obviously you're not supposed to look at them. But it was really unnerving to have somebody shouting at you that you can barely see, you can only hear in one ear. It was kind of disorientating, and I was always afraid he was going to like hit me or something. Like, it was irrational, but in my head I was like, oh God, he's going to swing at me, like, you know. But he made me feel so uncomfortable with whatever. I was like, it's obviously the way they're trained or something like that. These must be kind of skills that they learn. Like, Jeez, but he freaked me out more than anybody else. Like that weird little shout in your ear thing. I was like, oh, don't hit me.
You like saying, shut up, you dope, will you relax?
You just knew you were going to get sent home if that happened, but it would be in your head. Like, where the episodes, like, I'm really struggling. They give you this metal bar and the thing weighs about 7 kilos and you're supposed to pretend this is the gun, like, but you have to hold it a certain way, like whatever way it's supposed to look. And you'd swear the guy handed me a Rubik's Cube because I could not work out for the life of me, like, what way to hold it up. I was like, is this the arse? Is this the elbow? I don't know. And he takes the thing off me and puts it the right way around. And it did cross my mind for a second. I was like, I had my hands on my hips and I was like, just had a face and I took it back off. And then, but in my head, I was like, I'm going to give you a bang of this. Like, you can't, you do it and you're just gone. Like, so.
How many episodes are left, Ash?
So I think last week was week 4 and there's 7 in total. So there's 3 more episodes to come.
And it's on RT on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, after the news and the weather. So 9:35 p.m. RT1.
And you competed recently in jiu-jitsu. How did you find that?
Yeah, it was good crack. Yeah, it was nice to jump in. Well, the main reason why I jumped in, it was a show called Grapple Queens. So that promotion usually runs a show called Grapple Kings, and it's a mixed event. But this was the first ever time that they done an all-female card.
Brilliant.
In Ireland. So they asked me to do it, and they asked me if I'd be the main event. And normally I don't really like compete all that much in jiu-jitsu. I jump in every now and again, but like I'm training all the time, but not to the same intensity as I'd like to be able to compete. But sure, the first all-female card and the main event slot and all that kind of stuff. Like I definitely wasn't going to say no. So yeah,
that's no gi, is it?
Yeah, that match was no gi. It was actually supposed to be gi originally, and then I had a different opponent and she pulled out. And then a couple of weeks before then, the girl I had the match with, Priscilla, stepped in. So it was great for her to jump in. And it was great to just get the run out and whatever. It's great like to be on an all-female card. And like I was telling people, when I first started in jiu-jitsu, like there was no women doing it. I'd be going into the men's divisions in competitions, like and I was only 17, 18 at the time. Like I always tell the story. There was this guy in the competition, I think it was like the under 60 kilos, under 65 kilo men's division. Like he was probably not that tall, but he was jacked, Eastern European lad. And in the match with me, he went to pick me up and like slam me for a takedown. And I managed to get hold of a guillotine choke as he was trying to slam me. And I had it on super tight. And he had no choice but to tap then, like I got the finish or whatever. And he stood up then, he was holding his leg and got his teammate to come onto the mat to help like pick him up and carry up.
Like, flew.
As if to say, like, oh, she didn't get the tap, like I busted my knee in the process.
I was injured.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Took 6 months off to really sell it, like.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah.
Wasn't seen back again for the year.
Probably just out of mortification, probably like. But I couldn't get matches then. So like to come all the way past that, and not only is there like loads of matches, there's loads of divisions, and they're having an all women's card. Like sure, there was like 20 matches on the card. So there's probably at least 40 women grappling and competing on the same card. That's insane. Like for me, it's just like mind blown. Like I went from having nobody, and then all of a sudden there's this like amazing like women's grappling scene that like sure I don't even know the ins and outs of it anymore. There's so many women competing all over the country, like I can't even keep track of it. Like it's absolutely brilliant. Like,
well, you're probably too modest to think it, but you paved the way for that, for stuff like that to happen.
Absolutely.
Look at, and I want to give a shout out to Shauna Bannon, because Shauna was very impressive in her win over the week or last week in Oklahoma. But you talk to Shauna, like you paved the way for stuff like that, so I know you're too modest to accept that, but that's the reality of it. So well done to you.
And well done to Shauna. Yeah, that was a brilliant performance on Invicta. Like she really got a chance to show off all her skills, like how well-rounded she's become now. When she started, like those kind of considered that she was just a striker, and she had some beautiful jiu-jitsu, some really nice submission attempts, excellent guard work. It was a brilliant performance by Shauna. Yeah, she's a great girl, and she's doing all the right things. Like, she's working away hard in the background, and she'll go as far as she wants to go because she's putting the work in. Like, she's a fantastic competitor.
I was talking to her on the lead up to it, just send her a few messages, and I was saying to her, fair play to her, because I think this is her second or third different weight class. She takes any fight at any weight, and she drops the weight, she makes the weight. And me and Danny have said, because we used to work with Shauna, and the commitment from her in all the sports, she's applied herself unbelievably. So I wish her nothing but success. And I do think she will, like you said there, she'll get to wherever she wants to get to, because she was and look, she's fighting a very tough Mexican, and Mexicans don't go down that easy.
No.
And I was watching it, and now I seen most of it. And I was watching it just thinking, when is this woman going to go down? But she just wouldn't go down. But yeah, I think she'll go to the top if she wants to go to the top. But you paved the way for people like Sean O'Bannon.
I definitely broke some ground for them, but like, sure, people have to put the work in by themselves, and it's kind of bizarre because there's such a gulf in who's come up after me. Like, you think about, like, I haven't fought in 7 years. How has there not been another female, an Irish female in the UFC over those 7 years? I find that kind of mad. And I'm not saying that there's people out there that are not working, but there's definitely something missing, or, you know, something has happened that there's such a gulf over that length of time. Like, sure, 7 years is enough time for somebody to start training, get to a professional level, win enough fights at a professional level to then go and get signed by the UFC. It's like a long time. Like,
it's the same though as the in the men's as well, because the likes of yourself and Chris and Paddy and Connor and Cahill, that was that Irish invasion, so to speak, at the time. There hasn't been. There's Ian Gary now at the moment, but there hasn't been what you're saying about, you know, it's been 7 years. Why isn't there that influx of women competitors? I don't think there's been the same for men in terms of UFC. There has been lads competing, but not at UFC level.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Like, you know, I know different avenues work differently. Like, there's some guys who are coming up and they're onto organizations like Bellator and PFL and that kind of stuff, and like, they're recognized as not being the route to the UFC. Like, in the women's scene, like Invicta and Cage Warriors are primarily the feeder shows for UFC, if that's where you want to compete. Like, so that's the way you have to come up. And obviously Shauna competing with Invicta, like, generally it's accepted whoever wins a title with Invicta then immediately get signed and move over to the UFC. So yeah, Shauna's on the exact path that she wants to be on to make those jumps to the UFC. Like, and no matter what people are talking about the different organizations, like, in terms of the sport, the UFC still is the Premier League of mixed martial arts. No matter what other organization you compete with, it's not the Premier League. So that's where you want to be fighting the best in the world and to get the most prestige. Like, I know some other organizations are paying more money, and like, people make decisions for various different reasons, and that's fine. So if you want to compete with an organization to make more money and everything, like, I understand people need to do that to live. Like, and I know the UFC pretty much do pay peanuts, but at the same time, it's kind of this toss up between, do you want the prestige and the glory, or do you want the paycheck? Like, so and it shouldn't have to be like that. UFC should be paying fighters better, but it is what it is. That's how the land is.
They should be. That's another night's work.
I know. Yeah. I can tell you what I want now. I don't have to toe any company lines.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't get me.
I remember what you told me you made in your UFC fight after all the blood, sweat, and tears and training. I nearly got sick. Like,
I'd say I owed more money than I made by the end of it.
Absolutely.
I'll give you that money back. Sorry.
Yeah. Still IOUs going out.
Yeah, exactly. Probably still a few IOUs floating around.
So you want to be a fighter, huh?
Say it again.
So you want to be a fighter?
Yeah.
Fuck's sake, yeah. But it's been great catching up with you, and fair play to you on doing Hell Week and Jigsaw, great cause, and everything else, and jumping out of helicopters. I can't wait to see you doing more height-related activity because it sounds like great entertainment. I don't think we'll see you trying to climb Everest anytime soon, but
not.
And then with college and everything else, and all the best with that. And fingers crossed, whatever classroom you're in next year, you're teaching kids how to safely apply chokeholds and whatnot.
Yeah.
Been all good so far anyway with the kids' jiu-jitsu classes, so long may that continue.
That's it. If people want to follow you or keep an eye on your escapades, or if they want to take a look at Team KF and getting involved out there, how can they do all that crack?
You can follow me on social media, so I'm on all the usual platforms. So yeah, Google Aisling Daly and you'll find me somewhere on one of them. And we're always looking for new kids in the kids program in Team KF. We're always looking for women for the women's program or the mixed program or whatever, or if you're just even interested in self-defense or whatever. And I'm always happy to answer questions and messages and whatever from people, because it's nice to get back to people if they want to know a little bit more about you or what I'm doing or whatever. So thanks so much for having me on, guys. You've been brilliant crack. I really enjoyed
thank you.
Great
Thank
catch
you.
up. And your walkout will always be the greatest walkout in UFC MMA history.
There's a few people that have tried to rob that, but it's not as good. Look, the original always wins.
It's just everything that went along with it. You know what I mean? It's just emotionally loaded, and you can't recreate that emotional layer to the walkout just by playing the song.
Agreed.
That is very, very true. Mero, if people want to catch the previous 274 plus episodes of this audio presentation, where can they do so?
They go to WTSpod.com, or they can search WTS Pod on any podcast provider, Podcast Republic, Stitcher, Podbean, Apple Podcast. We're at Twitter at WTS Pod. He's at Danjo Murray. I'm at Marigamania. Until next time.
Ultimate Hell Week, Wednesdays, RTE 1,
9:35. Aisling Daly. It's been amazing. Clear eyes.
Full hearts.
Can't lose.